Well, good evening. It is a Thursday. It is October the 10th, 2019, Journal 191, T+191. And I'd like to do something a little bit different this evening. One of the things that I struggle with on a constant basis isn't finding something to talk about. Um, that's relatively easy. It's like anything else in life. All you need to do is show up. And plenty of things happen around you all the time, and certainly things that you find interesting. The challenging part of all of this is trying to find something that is meaningful to you that you believe will resonate for someone else, something that'll be relevant um, in their world, in their life. And tonight, I think I found that. Um, it has to do with one of the people to whom I owe a great deal. They were our test readers, people that read Misfire in sections and suffered through 9 sections and managed to answer 8 to 12, 13, 14 questions on the material they had just read. And that's probably the worst way you can read any kind of a book in sections like that. But they were gladiators. They did it. And they did it with a generous heart. One of the reasons that I wrote Misfire, and it's I think it's important to preface all of this, explaining that once again, is for small business owner operators that um, are so busy surviving from day to day that they they sacrifice so much to serve others. And it doesn't matter whether, and I've said this before, but I really believe this with a perfect heart, is that it doesn't matter what the business is. All small businesses share traits, certain certain dynamic certain dynamics that make them all so similar in so many ways. And one of those is sacrifice, the sacrifice of the owner um, to his business, to his clients, to his family, in giving of himself. I mean, it takes so much to go into business today on your own. It takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. It takes vision. You've got to see a future that nobody else sees. Um, it takes a great deal of hope, probably, more than any human being should have. It takes courage. It takes nerves of steel. Um, it takes it takes all of those things and more. It takes a single-mindedness of purpose, uh, and it takes an indomitable spirit. But perhaps more than anything else, it takes a warrior's heart, a gladiator's heart, um, maybe even a warrior's soul, because you're doing this on your own. One of the things that is so important for people to change is having a clear path, because the only way you're going to get to change is through emotion and in many cases through pain. Um, and what I mean by that is that we know for a fact that the organism does not move unless the pain of where you are is not as great as the pain of where you think you'll be. Um, and pain and change for most small business owners are synonymous. I became close to a number of the people that were test reading for us. I was close to some of them already, but I became close to a few. I'm not going to mention this gentleman by name. Um, he was one of our contractors, And that's significant because one of the lead characters in the book was a contractor. But I had sent out to the contractors that were readers a draft copy of an email communication that I was planning on sending out to an email list of contractors in the Western United States. And I wanted their response to what I had written, naturally, but more than that, I wanted to know from them what it would take for them to open an email from a stranger written to them, what would need to be in the subject line and what would need to be in the content to make it meaningful and motivate them to action. And I've been struggling all day with and one of the reasons I'm doing this so late is I was struggling all day with whether or not I should read you what this individual wrote back to me, because I think it's important. I think if you're a small business owner operator, if you're an entrepreneur, it'll resonate for you like few things that you've read or heard recently can do. And if you're not, I think it's important that you understand the heart and the minds of the people who serve you, the people who run the dry cleaning store, the people who run the bakery, the people who run the local garage that you take your car to, perhaps a chiropractor or someone else who's got a small business that is invisible for the most part to the majority of people in our society until their services are needed. Your plumber, you're the guy who services your furnace or your air conditioning system. And as an independent repair shop owner, I know what they go through because I went through it. I was raised in that business. Before I was in that business, I watched my dad sacrifice. In fact, the reason that I'm in the business is because the only way I could be with my father was to go where he was, and that was at work all the time. It was just my misfortune to happen to fall in love with it, what he did. Um, that gene has that gene has jumped the current generation. But I want to read you what, because I could paraphrase it and that would probably be easier, but it wouldn't capture what's written here. So you'll have to pardon me for reading this, and I apologize, but I think you'll appreciate it when I do. Um, my first response after a typical brutal day would be to screw the protagonist, the main character in the story, and his Corvette. Um, However, I do like the wording, a contractor like you or someone you're sure to know. Someone who may be overstressed and weary of client issues and who always seems to get the bills paid but runs out of money when it's time to pay themselves. Someone who knows something is not working right and is struggling to find what that something is, how to correct it. Maybe you're feeling that your business is not running on all cylinders, etc. Misfire is a companion, a buddy who knows your struggles, a friend you can have a beer with, someone you can talk to when there's nobody to talk to. Misfire is also a guide, a teacher, and a source of calm and wisdom that helps to reaffirm the belief in yourself when you need it most. Those were things that he said about the book, and it made my eyes leak when I read that. Um, Moving on. I write that after a client just sent me an email telling me that he thinks a year and a half ago someone put a nail through the refrigerator water line and he has substantial damage to his cabinets and flooring. The thing is, the water line was run behind the cabinets and nowhere near a nail. I drilled the holes and ran the line myself because it had just cost me $17,000 to repair damage from the first mysterious refrigerator water line incident. After I got back to the house, I just finished figuring out how much money people owe me, and that somewhat relieved the stress of this morning when I was up at 3 a.m. worrying about what a loser I am. I just started to feel like a human again, and then I was gifted with that email. In the throes of I started to say, screw this, but a voice in the back of my head said, you're stronger than this. I'm going to try really hard not to get emotional when I go through this. You will survive it. There will be a way. After all the changes I've made to processes and management, the entire business model, I have to gut it out and win. Something that speaks to being on the battlefield, sometimes working what seems to be a thankless job and believing you will win if you can hang in long enough and not have a heart attack, stroke, or some illness that will take you out of the battle is a strong appeal and would make me open that email and start reading. Does that help or give any thoughts? I think you can totally relate with the health battle you have fought. There are days we need to get support. Some days we need to turn off the phone and take a nap. Some days we need a hug from the wife. As I was pacing around this morning, one of the thoughts in my mind was how unfair this was to my wife. Why wasn't I able to provide a more secure environment and a better lifestyle? She married a loser. I had so much potential, smart, aggressive, high IQ. Was I too much the rebel? I had to turn the screen down because she just came in, gave me a hug and a bowl of grapes, and she'd be hurt if she saw how I felt this morning. So tomorrow I put the armor on and go out the door again, as if for nothing else than to make her smile. Did any of that help? You reach us because a gunfighter knows another, a dog knows his own, a warrior recognizes the look and scars of another. Someone who has been or is in the battle recognizes the strength and endurance in another. We are all members of a private club. The one who's made payroll, the one who's stepping in on the field instead of sitting in the stands. I value your friendship. Stay healthy. Um, that's the heart of an independent businessman. That's the heart of an entrepreneur. That's the heart of the person I gave more than 3 years of my life to writing this book and editing it and revising it so that it would be as perfect as it possibly could to celebrate that spirit and to provide a clear pathway for the um, change that's needed to bring change into your life, to restore you back into the arms of the people you love and into your family, and to better take care of your clients as well. So there's a lot to think about there. Perhaps enough to read, read through the lines and listen to it twice. If I'm lucky, and that was as powerful as I think it was. The next time you bring your car in for a repair, the next time you call in a plumber or an electrician, the next time you have a tradesman come to the house, the next time you go to the nail salon or you go to get your clothes at the dry cleaner, you'll say, Namaste. I see you. I understand what you're going through, and I deeply appreciate the fact that you're doing a lot of it on my behalf. Stay well, take care. I promise you I won't be as heavy tomorrow night. Well, I can't promise you that, but I can make the promise and it'll just be hollow if I fail. But in any case, stay well, take care.